know you're going to get loads from this video with Max and his mum Lisa as they talk about his journey towards being a professional rugby player. This is full of such incredible insights. I'm sure that as parents and as young people pursuing your sporting potential, this will help you see what is needed in the parent-child relationship. As ever with these interviews, don't just copy this great son and mum in what they do. Think about the principles behind what they say and apply and contextualize to your family. And before we get into the interview, can I invite you to hit that subscribe button so that next time one of these interviews drops onto my YouTube channel, you can be one of the first to see it. Enjoy this interview. It's brilliant. Well, I'm really, really delighted today to have Max and Lisa with me. I'm going to let them introduce each other. Max, introduce your mum to us.
This is Lisa, my mum.
Watched it.
Yeah, there's not much else to say. She's been around for me, and yeah, that's mum.
William, thanks for that, mate. That was
yeah. Thank you. Bloody hell, I've deserved that.
No, cool. Lisa, tell us about Max.
So, firstborn son. Everybody complains about, you know, their boys and what a complete nightmare they've been. I have to say, he's been an absolute joy. Honestly, you know, always delivered. Been very proud of him, both my husband and me. And yeah, we just, you know, want him to start enjoying life being out of COVID so that he can actually do all the things he needs to do with rugby and stuff. So
brilliant. So Max, rugby is your sport. You're more than a rugby player, but what bits of mum and dad's character? You know, you grew up in a very rich rugby heritage family. What did you take from dad, and what did you take from mum that helps you be a really good rugby player?
I think, well, they're both quite scientific and methodical with the way they go around things. Very business savvy, and the way that relates to my game is just like to me, rugby. It's just a bunch of puzzles, really. Just like reading the pitch and stuff. So I kind of just go through it step by step, just trying to solve it, and then that just comes out on the pitch, really.
Brilliant. I like that.
Puzzles, that's interesting, isn't it? Interesting concept.
It is. Yeah, it is. Have you heard him say that before, Lisa?
No, not the puzzles thing. I mean, it's something that, you know, Steve, his dad, has always said. The thing about Max is that nobody reads the game like Max, and he said that since he was a dog. Probably not to Max's face, because he never blew hot air up Max at all. If anything, he was really hard on him, especially if he was coaching him. But no, you know, he would always say Max is like a good 3-6 seconds ahead of. He knows what's happening. So, you know, it's nice to see that correlation between what Steve said to me and then, you know, what Max is saying.
Brilliant. And so, Lisa, you know, you got two great kids, both who love and enjoy their sport. Max went down the rec, playing at Bath from a really young age. What are your early memories as a rugby mum, and because you were a rugby wife at the same time?
Yeah.
You know, how did you help him just fall in love with the game without the pressure of being Steve's son? And
yeah, we didn't have to make him fall in love with the game. You know, he was always sporty across everything. You know, was a really good cricketer as well. But I think, you know, my earliest memories come from Steve was on the sideline, and Max was only 3, and he had some of his mates from King Edward's, Jack Burtonay and oh gosh, I can't think of who they were, the Morgan boys, and just a variety of people that obviously he's grown up with at King Edward's. And the boys weren't insured at 3, so they couldn't partake. So Steve had this like little sideline thing going on, and we've got like mini pictures of them, and they're gorgeous. And, you know, they've all grown up together. And I think it's just that, you know, we lived on, poor old Ava, who's now 13 next week, you know, she lived on a rugby pitch because every weekend we were going somewhere, you know, for a game or for coaching or whatever it was, or supporting Max. And it's just part and parcel of our lives. You know, we were always up and out on a Sunday morning. He was always sporting school fixtures on a Saturday. And, you know, that's one of the reasons why we wanted to make sure that we had jobs that we could be available and be able to go to sports day. And, you know, the highlight of Steve and my year is sports day, you know, because we just love just that whole environment. So Yeah, those are sort of my earliest memories, just being on a rugby pitch the whole time, and Ava being really tolerant and sweet, and just, you know, it being part of her life.
Fantastic. And Max, as you've kind of grown up through rugby, and I mean, obviously you clearly still enjoy doing it now, but I'm sure there've been some bumps along the road. What have some of those bumps been like, and what have those conversations with mum been like during some of those challenges that you've had to face?
To be fair, I was never really with rugby. It was just like trying to manage stuff around it. So we've always like had conflict over like dropping things. So whether it be one of the big ones was cricket, because there was a point in time where I was neck and neck in terms of the levels I was playing at for both of them. And then, you know, things around academics, so I have more time to train.
Yeah, like being told that he was one of how many, you know, very few who could do was it Greek or Latin? I can't remember. GCSE, and you know, he could do it, and he's like, no, I'm not doing it. Why would I do that? And I'm like, come on, it's going to differentiate you. So that balance, academia, sport, clearly something that, you know, has been trying to be balanced over the years. But you know, he's always been really diligent. I can remember him coming in from rugby and going, I've got to do my homework. I'm going to go. I'm coming in from rugby. I'll go and do my homework, and then I'll have a shower. You know, so
brilliant.
He had his priorities right.
So let's talk about this cricket conversation, because that's a challenge, isn't it? Because most kids in pathways these days do tend to have a couple of things that they're good at, and certainly the other interviews that I've done like this. Anya Shrubsole, who's an amazing women's cricketer, also from your part of the world, from Bath. Her dad is a director of sport, and just listening, football was a big passion of hers, and that kind of decision making between going football, cricket. So how did that work out, that conversation at home then, Max? Were you like adamant it was rugby, and mum and dad were just like reflecting back to you to make sure, or did you want to keep trying to hold both together? How did mum and dad support you through that conversation?
In terms of like backstory, it was like I was playing county cricket before rugby, because that came first. So I was always playing it, and then until about under 16s, where I got to play in like a Southwest trial game, and I played in it, and I was like, okay, so this is the level, this is Southwest, like I'm not good enough to. I know in myself I'm not good enough to push on to go pro or something like that, but I kind of knew I could do it at rugby. So like it was never something where I could just go to my parents and say, please can I stop playing cricket, like unless I had good reason, like I could. So
that's amazing early self-awareness that you were able to say that, because I think, you know, for my own kids, that's one of the things I try. I don't know if I'm very good at it, but trying to help them have a high but honest opinion of themselves, because so that they can make good decisions. So it sounded like, Max, you had made that decision anyway about cricket, and you were waiting almost for the natural point when that happened. Were you a batter, bowler, all-rounder, wicket-keeper?
Bit of an all-rounder. Like going up through school, I was always a quick bowler. Like I like being the scary one, like just bowling fast. But then, like as I got older, like even when I was 16, I'd finish a game and I'd be in like more bits than after when I played a rugby game, because you're putting so much pressure through your joints and stuff when you're bowling, and it's always repeated. Whereas with rugby, you're kind of just like milling about, waiting for the ball. So
milling about,
yeah.
While some other people are doing the hard work, yeah.
So once I realised that, I just asked my parents if I could start toning it down, and then once I realised, like, okay, I'm not an aspiring professional, then like I kind of just did it for the social aspects, like school cricket, first team cricket. I had a good relationship with my coaches, loved the socials, so it was just playing it for good crack, really.
So I was going to ask, what did cricket give you or rugby? So in those days, I guess cricket gave you a bit of an outlet in between the seasons. What now, as somebody who's kind of, you know, you're 20, you're looking back on those skills. What do you think playing cricket at that level is it anyway obviously added to your rugby ability?
100%, yeah, 100%. Like literally, the main thing in my game is my like basic skills. Like my pride and joy is my catch and pass. And like even now, if I go through like a couple of weeks off rugby, I'll come back and my hand-eye coordination won't be as good. Like just literally just catching a ball in cricket, because it's smaller than a rugby ball. It just taught me like how to do it. And then a rugby ball is like 5 times the size, so anybody can catch that once you can catch a cricket ball.
Brilliant, thank you. And now, you're professional, you've left home. What are you valuing? I mean, this is a weird season, isn't it, with COVID, and you're not getting as many opportunities as you would be, and the under-20s Six Nations has been stopped and other bits and pieces. But sorry,
under-20s World Cup, which we had big plans for.
Yes.
Yeah.
Was it going to be Argentina? No, where was it going to be? I can't remember.
Italy.
Italy.
Yeah, and that.
Yeah.
I mean, the last time I saw you play was the England under-20s against Ireland at Franklin Gardens. I forgot what I was going to say. Oh yeah, challenges as you moved into this professional area, you've kind of left home. What are you valuing about the support that mum and dad are giving you in this process now?
Now, to be fair, they kind of just let in terms of rugby, they just let me do my own thing, really. Like they don't ask too many questions. Like, if anything, the only real contact I have about rugby is either after a game or me sending them clips from training that like I know they'll like. The more like hands-on side is uni or any like extracurricular things I'm doing. Like I may ask. They don't really try and butt in, which is nice.
Yeah, and Lisa, is that? I mean, you
that's really hard, Richard.
Because as Max alluded to, you're a very successful person, and you know your stuff, and you're a business coach, so you know what it is to kind of have conversations with people to move forward. So how is that? Because that I hear, and the research tends to says, is that kind of just taking it very softly is the best approach to help kids. But how is that? Because you're a woman, you know stuff that could continually help Max develop. So how do you manage that?
I pick my battles, definitely. And I think that Steve and I have always been very in the background supportive, which, you would think with a father who's an ex-rugby international that Steve would be really in Max's face. I think it's not that Steve is his biggest, he will critique him the most, because Max actually does that, So in terms of us, being around and supporting him, absolutely, from a mum and dad perspective. And, obviously we get excited and, we've got things to say, but we're also aware of the fact that, he's 20, he's, got his own personality and, drivers and everything like that. And we absolutely respect that. And, I would never query anything in terms of the way, the choices he's making, or never really had to, because, he's always rationalized everything so well. Don't get me wrong, it sounds like I'm painting my, golden ball son, which, I have to say I'm biased. But no, I think we've been incredibly lucky in terms of, the decisions that he has made, and, when he needs support, he asks for it. I don't have to be in his face. Steve doesn't have to be in his face. Steve would like to be more in his face with regards to rugby, but he holds himself back. So.
And how do you? I mean, I guess you and Steve support each other in that process as well, then, of going, holding each other back.
Yeah. I mean, Steve, he's a subject matter expert with rugby. Okay. And I mean, Max would always say, he's always been one of his best coaches. I mean, obviously he played a long time ago, but he's still, got his head around the game. And is still really interested in it, and it's still on every weekend in our household in some type of form of rugby. But we're just, it is what it is. It's just part of our lives. It's not something that people think, you must be off to such and such a game this weekend. No, actually, Steve, especially post-stroke, he'd actually prefer to be at home watching it in the comfort of his own room, where he can see everything in every angle. He doesn't have to do that big social event anymore. I mean, apart from when Max is playing, when we absolutely want to be there for him more than anything.
Brilliant. Yeah, I mean, I can see that's a challenge though, and I really appreciate your honesty in that, because I think for us sports parents, the biggest challenge is regulating our own emotions through it and being honest about that, rather than kind of trying to deny we don't have emotions. It is exciting. I mean, I get excited. I get excited. You know, I got excited going into the England camp and seeing the lads train and things like that. Just as an England fan, it's exciting. And then going to live sport.
It's really emotional.
It is, yeah. It's
really emotional.
And it's exciting going to watch live sport, and then you put your own relative in that mix, as well. Max, you've alluded to lots of really helpful stuff. What tips would you give any sports parents of young boys and girls coming through pathways at the moment, to emulate your mum and dad's parenting success, or to avoid any of their pitfalls?
Sounds weird, but like if you can, just try and keep as much of a step back until you really feel the need to step in. Like, one thing I've always, like, I love my parents for what they've done, like, for me as a child. Like, they literally pretty much let me do whatever. And when I messed up, like, I knew about it, and then, like, myself, I knew I wasn't going to do it again. It wasn't something they had to nag me about. And it's the same with the good things. Like, if I just, did something myself and, end up with a good outcome, like, they'd let me know about it as well. Like, they're not there trying to lead me, along the way the whole time. They just really just let me be happy. Like, I was still like scootering and skateboarding when I was like 14. Fell off my scooter, mashed my head up. They didn't have to tell me, like, I didn't do it again.
I think you get to a point as a parent when you say, you know what, we've instilled the values, we've had the conversations, the years are there. Now you just got to let them go and do their thing. Steve and I have had some conversations, and of course we worry about him because he's our baby, but he's doing his own thing, and he's forging his pathway, and doing uni as well, etc. And you just have to give them their wings and be there if anything goes tits up.
Yeah, and I think, one of the things I love about reading adult sporting biographies is that good relationship means that kids will keep coming back because they know you're a safe space to keep coming and having those conversations with. And I love that. I love what you've just said, Max. That's brilliant. I'm definitely clipping that bit and because I think that is our role as parents, is to help them have those mental skills of good self-awareness. It's not easy, and we stumble over trying to do that. But if we can help them be the reflectors rather than us being the constant reflectors, so that when they do come and have a conversation with us, it's a lot easier to kind of have those bigger conversations, because there will come moments when you need to have that, just because we all have that with our parents over different topics, but that's it.
I think if you give them that freedom as well, what happens is that they become very good at saying, okay, so how did I play today? Sort of like self-coaching. Okay, so I could have done better here, here, and here. Or if they've had an absolutely epic game, coming off and going, yeah, I was amazing. But actually giving them the freedom to do that as well, because that they're going to tell the truth to themselves, regardless of what outcome it is. And that's really important, because that keeps their feet on the ground as well.
Definitely. Yeah, that's amazing. I love it. And I've loved hearing from both of you. Lisa and Max Ojomoh, thank you so much for your time tonight. Max, all the best for the rest of this season. I hope that you get a bit more playing time, because leagues come back like that with rugby, but I suppose it does give you a bit more time on your uni studies. What are you studying?
Business administration.
Chip off the old block. Yep, just kind of follow that. No, that's brilliant. Thank you so much for your time and your honesty tonight. I really appreciate that. Lisa, I asked Max what he would say. What would you say to parents in Sporting Pathways, just to finish with? What would you be? You've given lots of gems, but what would be one other thing you'd want to say to sporting parents tonight?
Just support, but sincerely support. Be there because you want to be there. You don't have to be there all the time. We did because we wanted to be there and we loved it, and that's just part of us. But actually, also, be confident in the values that you're instilling in them, that they are going to be, starting to make their own decisions on things, etc., and let them do it, because they'll be learning either way.
Brilliant. Max, Lisa, thank you so much for your time tonight. Have a great evening.
Thanks very much, Richard.